Guys, they left me in charge of the intro, so I have to do a good job, okay? My name is Simone, and this is Beauty and the Boob Doc podcast. We talk about plastic surgery, beauty, health, wellness, lifestyle, and so much more. I'm losing breath. We have our very own board-certified plastic surgeon, Dr. Farber, aka the breast expert, aka the Boob Doc. And then we have the beauty, which is supposed to be me, and I'm thankful for it. Listen, it's a title I am willing to accept at this time, no questions asked. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start off with the reason why we brought Marissa, the PA, on the podcast. Is it okay if we call you that, by the way?
Of course.
Marissa, the PA.
You have to tell the story.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm going to tell the story.
Okay.
That's where I was like, I have to.
Say there was a different what was the other nickname you said the other day that?
Oh, no, I called her Marissa
only
the PA.
when she's in trouble.
Oh, I forgot what it was.
Marissa the PA.
Yeah, Marissa the PA. Right. It's like Marissa, and then when things are serious, it's Marissa the PA. So I've actually known of Marissa for longer than she's been here. Like, I've been watching you on TikTok when you, I don't know, first started posting TikToks and stuff. And when I first started working at this job, I needed like an aesthetic. Like when I started working at this plastic surgery job, I need like an aesthetic nurse PA to look up to and kind of buy clothes to look like and stuff. It was so fun. So I found your page and I was like obsessed with you, like everyone is. And then down the line, like a year and a half later, we get an email that there's a Marissa joining the team, like up for the new PA. I'm like, wait a second, like Marissa the PA? Like the Marissa, and they were like, wait, you know who she is? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So you showed up and I was like starstruck, and now we're like super cool. We're like, friends and everything.
No, now it's so cool.
Yeah, now it's so chill. But when I first met you, I was like, wait a second, like I have to do my hair.
It was very funny seeing the two of you interact. Marissa definitely is the bigger sister.
Oh, for sure.
And Simone is definitely the little sister. I would think.
I didn't know that this was going to be the dynamic, but I'm happy it is. And you've been on the Farber plastic surgery team for how long now at this point?
A year and a half. It was February of last year when I started working here. So
wow.
It's crazy because I think about it. I was telling this to a patient yesterday, how it doesn't feel like I'm new here anymore. Like I feel like this is where I belong, and I feel like I've been here for longer than what I've been here for. And then I think of my time before here, and that feels like I was a completely different person. It was a different time. It was like a different lifetime ago. And it's so weird to think that that was only a year and a half ago, and it wasn't that long ago.
You think you were different clinically?
Oh, yeah.
Or how you talk to treat patients? Or
everything.
How so?
Everything. Well, not to toot your own horn, Dr. Farber.
My own horn.
But yes. When I first started here, I didn't have that much, I guess you could say, experience with just handling patients. Like I had my own patients. Most people were super happy and it was great. But, when it comes to like the nitty gritty and having to deal with like serious issues or any sort of patient, I feel like I learned a lot from you with how to become a quality provider.
That's good.
And yeah, it's something that I feel like is one of the most important things about being a provider. And, you can learn so many things from different providers and from different mentors of, how to be good at your job, regardless of what specialty or what career field you're working in. But what I've learned from you has been like invaluable because it's how to be a good person to other people.
Yeah, I was going to say that, that's kind of the direction of where your career is taking you, which is nice. But I wanted to hear your backstory and kind of like why you became a PA and chose this career.
Well, when I was in college, I had no idea. When I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be a teacher. And then I was like, no. And then when I was in college, I kind of started really liking the sciences. And I think I liked it so much because it was really hard for me. Science was always my worst subject. And it was the most challenging, which I think I really liked at the end of the day because I love a good challenge. And my dad's a doctor. So when I, started to have to really, choose what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I was like, well, I want to be like the best of the best and feel super important. So let's be a doctor. And I did all of my undergraduate pre-med, thought I was going to go to medical school. And then when I graduated from my undergrad at UMiami, I took a gap year before I was planning on taking my MCAT and all of that. And during that gap year was the first time in my life that I wasn't studying for anything. And it like opened my eyes, because I was like, oh, life isn't all about studying. Like, I had no idea. And I learned a lot about myself, and I kind of realized that I'm the type of person who isn't very good at managing my time and having a good work-life balance or school life balance. Like, I look back at my undergraduate time and I have some regrets about it, because all of my memories were basically in the library. I was just studying all the time, and I didn't have much of a social life until like my last year. And I feel like that took, a lot away from just growing as a person and having experiences and all of the things.
I think you're just fine. You ended up just fine.
Thank you. It took a long time though, because it was like after college that I like had my college experience that I didn't have when I was in college,
Right,
so
sacrifice.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I feel like I want to work in medicine. I want to do like what a doctor does, but I don't think that life is for me, because I don't think that I'm going to end up being happy. And then I literally one day Googled how to be a doctor without being a doctor.
So step one to becoming MarissathePA.
Swear to God. And that's
MarissathePA.
MarissathePA.
Right.
And that's when I learned what a PA was. And I was like, I had no idea this even existed. Like, why didn't anyone tell me about this before? And that's when I started my path to getting into PA school. I became a PA. The rest is history.
What got you into social media? Because I feel like now everybody's on it, but this was kind of a long time ago. I mean, we're talking, at least 3-5 years.
Yeah.
Of being on social media and creating a presence.
I post like on my own personal social media a lot and well, not really that much anymore, but I used to all the time. And then when I started working as a PA, which I started my first job as a PA like 3 years ago, a little bit over 3 years ago now, and I didn't have any patients. So I was like, how the heck am I supposed to get some people to learn about me?
That's what happens when you start medicine. You think in your training that you are this highly trained, amazing, skilled person, and then you go out into practice because you're training with people who have patients, and then you get out into the real world and there ain't no patients.
Right.
And like, why aren't they coming to me? And because you have to actually build a practice, and
you don't think about that part.
It's a whole project. No, it's actually, that's an interesting part of it.
I showed up to work and I'm like, I'm ready. And no one was there. And I'm like, what do you mean I don't have any? I would have, first of all, the first few months, no patients. And I was training and learning and stuff. So I was happy to not have patients because I didn't trust myself with a needle. And then when I finally was like, okay, we can start putting people on my schedule, it was like one person every 3 days. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And then I was like, okay, let's see what I can start posting. I had started MarissathePA on Instagram. I love how it's like become a brand. It's so funny to me.
A whole brand. Like, you are the only PA that I even care about at this point, honestly.
I love you.
Yeah, MarissathePA.
Thank you. So I had started MarissathePA on Instagram when I was still in PA school. Because I was like, I know I want to save it as something, but then people would think it's all lowercase. So then people would think it was MarissathePA, and Thepa was my last name. People still think that. And I'm like,
do they really?
Some people, yeah.
I think I may call you that from now on.
Thepa, that's your office name. Your alter ego. Thepa's here.
Thepa.
MarissathePA.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Thepa.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh my God.
It was just born, and I love that.
Great.
I like it.
Can't wait.
Big wrapper chain with like Thepa on it.
We have to get merch. Thepa merch.
Thepa merch.
Thepa merch.
I'm crying. I love it.
And then I started getting on TikTok, and my TikToks were flopping every single time. It was like just my sister and my best friend commenting like, so good, and that's it. And it was you have to trial and error and see what works for you and what doesn't. And then I just kept posting and posting, and then started getting a little bit of traction after some time. And then I don't know, now
I think that's, remember we talked about this when you first started with us, is that you had a pretty significant TikTok following. You had a very good Instagram following, but you didn't really incorporate the plastic surgery aesthetic world too much into it. And so that's what I think really, when I was watching your progression in terms of social media and stuff, you went from really posting a lot of social stuff, which is cool and people are interested in it. But then when you started incorporating your style and your brand, if you will, with your plastic surgery stuff, I think that's where people really took interest in terms of, plastic surgery side of things.
Yeah,
that's so true. Because when I was following you, it was like outfits I'm wearing to work and very just social and I don't know, very aesthetic, just how I look, how I get ready, the skincare I'm doing. And then you're a whole PA and it's like, okay, but we wanted to go with you. We wanted to go in the office with you. We want to see your work. We want to know about you as a PA too.
That's very true.
And I feel like, now that you've joined this team and you've just been putting your work out there consistently, we get to know you not only as Marissa, but Marissa the PA.
Yeah.
And we get to see your work.
Social media is crazy. I mean, social media really is crazy. When I first started practice 15 years ago, we didn't have social media. And so the only way to advertise or get your brand out there was TV commercials.
I was going to say, don't age yourself.
Which is ridiculous.
Don't age yourself.
Or magazine ads. And they were very expensive and they didn't really have any sort of return on investment. No one really saw it and it really wasn't helpful. With social media, number one, it helps get your brand out there. But number two, patients will come and see us, feel like they know us already. Mm-hmm. They know our style. They know our work. They're educated, so they know the words to use. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. And they come, and I always say this to patients, they come, it's almost like the fifth date as opposed to the first date. And that's when people are trying to find people that not only they like their aesthetic work, but they also feel comfortable with and trust, because with us, trust is really everything. I feel like people can really gain some sort of trust.
Oh yeah, when your patients come in, sorry to interrupt you. When her patients
Seriously,
come in,
Simone, interrupting.
Well, you just you got my gears turning because her patients come in and it's as if they've already known you, as if you are friends already. And same for you. It's, they use your verbiage. They already have an education before the consultation.
Correct.
I feel like a lot of the patients also know what they kind of want. Some of them come in and they're like, you tell me, because that's the best thing about it is there's already some underlying form of trust that they have for you and you've never even met them before. But when I first started working here, what Dr. Farber told me to do is post educational content. And that I think is what skyrocketed my social media the most. And it was super helpful because at first I was like, okay, and nothing really happened. And I was posting. And again, it's not the first thing that you post that is gonna skyrocket. That's very rare for that to happen. But I kept posting the educational stuff and it really took off because people were like, you are so open and honest about the things that you've gotten done and, learning so much about, how our brain works versus someone who doesn't have the training that we have. I think it helps a lot to help them be like, oh, chin filler, I've never even realized that that's something that I might benefit from. And then it gets the wheels turning for them too.
Yeah, I like that you said that because I feel like your education helps people differentiate between the actual real stuff in regards to aesthetics and the fluff that's floating online, like the rumors and the trends and the lies. So we wanted to ask, what are the most common misconceptions about the aesthetic industry that you find and want to debunk? You can do a couple if you so choose.
So I think the most common one is that lip filler or any filler or Botox is something that is detectable. So you see, especially here in South Florida, you see the girls walking in the room and their lips walk in the room before they do. And to each their own, if that's what they want, completely fine. But that's not what all filler looks like. And I think the thing that has helped a lot of my patients with my TikToks and all of the videos and stuff is showing them that you can still look natural and look true to yourself, and it doesn't have to completely morph you into looking like a completely different person with these injectable treatments. So having a very subtle, natural look, I think, is in right now, and people are starting to realize that injectables can do that rather than it being this big, obvious, in-your-face thing.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's enhancing, not augmenting. I mean, that's the whole thing with everything we do is basically you want it to be natural. If someone asks who's your plastic surgeon, if someone asks who's your injector, you failed, at least in my mind. And that's what and what Marissa said is actually a good point. Everyone has a different aesthetic, and there's not one right or wrong way to do this. And another thing with social media is it helps people find the aesthetic that they're looking for and then go to that provider to achieve that. So where Marissa really specializes in a very pretty and natural result, people who want pretty and natural results gravitate towards her. I'm sure there are other people that want more of a full augmented look, and while Marissa can provide that, usually people who gravitate towards Marissa are ones that are looking for a more pretty, natural aesthetic.
Right. That's what I kind of tell like your patients when I'm in the room with them, and they're like, I'm nervous. I'm like numbing them, getting them prepared for lip filler and everything. And they're like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, it's good to be nervous. I feel like that's fair. It's your face. It's important. But also, you're here for a reason. Like, you did your research. You saw her work. It aligns with the aesthetic you're trying to achieve. And you just have to trust.
Yeah.
Just trust. So
I like that people do their research and they choose the provider that they chose because they kind of know the results that they're going to get from them. Being nervous is normal, and I get kind of weirded out when people say they're not nervous, because I'm like, you can trust me all you want, but like, it's still a needle to your face.
Yeah.
Like, I would be nervous, and like, I get nervous doing it to myself, and like, I know what I'm gonna do to myself, but still.
Which is pretty insane, by the way, Marissa.
yeah, no, she's crazy.
I've been doing Botox to myself for years, but I've never done filler to myself. The concept that you do filler to the lips to yourself blows my mind each and every time I see it.
Yeah, every time a patient is like, oh, I don't know how someone does this without numbing cream, I always one-up them, and I'm like, and Marissa does it to herself without numbing cream.
Traditionally very tough.
Yeah, she's tough.
She's
unbreakable.
I have a very high pain tolerance.
Oh my God, Marissa, you have to, because you're like always hurting yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Anything to feel something, Dr. Farber.
So misconception is that one size fits all with filler and it all looks the same and you're going to look done.
Yeah. Like, there's so much unclockable filler out there, and I feel like men especially don't think that, and they're the ones always telling their significant others who come in and are patients of mine, they're like, oh, my boyfriend, like, or my husband, like, is so against this, like, he doesn't want me to ruin my face. And I'm like, you're gonna go home and they're not even gonna notice a difference, and you're gonna feel so much better about the way you look, and they're gonna be like, you look great, but you're still gonna be you at the end of the day.
Right. So as the one man here, let's just take a little bit.
Okay, we'll give you some slack.
I would agree that men really don't see anything, and I am always shocked at the fact that happens. But let's give us a little bit.
Okay, yeah, we're never gonna go easy on you. Just letting you know.
Okay.
So the secret to achieving a youthful appearance as we age. I know you had mentioned already and talked about it so much, how subtly doing enhancements is like your go-to. Like, that's your motto. But what is like the real, like what's the recipe?
Skincare is the baseline. Dr. Farber always says you look at all of this stuff kind of like the food pyramid, and the skincare is at the bottom. And if you do all the injectables and surgeries and lasers, but you don't have a good skincare regimen, then you're kind of doing it all backwards. And he's right. He's not wrong.
It's the foundation.
Mm-hmm. It's the foundation. So good skincare, medical grade skincare. If you buy stuff over the counter at like, Walgreens or like any other place like that, Sephora even, they don't have, most of the skincare there is not necessarily regulated. So they can say that they have all this stuff in it, but like, you don't really know it at the end of the day if it's true. The medical grade skincare is something that actually has clinical trials and all of the research and studies that shows the proven results. And I think that goes a long way. And I mean, we use it, we know how good it is and stuff. So getting a good skincare routine, I think, is so important. Obviously, wearing sunscreen, everyone has heard it a million times before, but it really is so true. Like, I have my patients, like, their significant others will come in and be like, okay, like, what can I do? I'm like, I know you're not going to do like a 10-step skincare routine, because right now all you do is wash your face with a bar of soap. So let's start with sunscreen. And once you wake up in the morning and your first thought is, I have to brush my teeth and I have to put my sunscreen on, then we can move forward with other stuff. But sunscreen is like the number one thing. After that,
And retinol.
Yes, but if they're not going to do their sunscreen, they're definitely not going to do their retinol.
Fair.
It's true.
And then the injectables part of it, I think, goes a long way, but the gentle approach to injectables, I think, is what goes the longest way. You know, filler and Botox too, but filler more than anything, I think, can age people so much if it's overdone or injected incorrectly, etc. So I know a lot of people these days are into, like, the TikTok trend right now is dissolving all of their filler because it makes them look younger. And it's true to a certain extent, but those are the injectables that are done poorly or overdone. So I think,
like, I just saw a video of, I saw it a few weeks ago, of like someone, it's going viral, having like filler all in their face. It's like an x-ray scan or something. And I feel like everybody is weary because of filler because of that video. And I don't know how that person got to that point, but I can't imagine that like everybody who gets filler looks like that.
All right, so I'm going to put my teacher hat on for a second. And, you know, filler is predominantly hyaluronic acid. And one of the really cool things about hyaluronic acid fillers is that we have the ability to dissolve it. And what I always tell my patients, what I know Marissa also tells them, is it is not a magic eraser. You don't just do a little bit of filler knowing that you can dissolve it. And the primary reason, that was an interesting accent over the primary.
Love it.
But the primary reason for dissolving it is if you have any issues, right? So if you have any issues, you can dissolve it, and it makes it able to be treated easily, and you take care of it. The other thing is that if you don't like it, or if it migrates, or if you have an issue down the road, you can dissolve it. But the thing is, when you dissolve it, it doesn't necessarily dissolve uniformly. So people have to be aware that you don't just dissolve filler, get rid of all the filler, and then start over. Sometimes you need multiple sessions. Sometimes it doesn't dissolve uniformly. Your body has hyaluronic acid in it, so it doesn't, the hyaluronidase that dissolves it doesn't necessarily know which is filler and which is your normal tissue, so you can have irregularities. So Marissa and I both, we really, number one, pay attention to who we're dissolving, number two, where we're dissolving, and three, what we're dissolving. And I think that is really important. And so it's not just a magic eraser. You have to be very cognizant and diligent about what you're doing.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were saying about you being educational on the internet and making sure you debunk these myths and the crazy train that comes from a viral video that's putting out false information or misinformation or information without all the facts.
Yeah, dissolving can be good, but it's not always good. It's good to have, especially in emergency settings, for sure. And, you know, if people have an undesirable cosmetic result and they want to dissolve, there's a lot that comes with it. Like, it requires this in-depth conversation that I have with my patients about it, because people do think it is a magic eraser. I think it's kind of, people promote it like it is a magic eraser, and it's not. So but yeah, the lady who got the MRI or whatever that was, and she had a filler all over her face, I mean, it went viral for a reason, and I think it scared a lot of people. And I have patients even who, I've had, I think, already 2 patients in the last few weeks who have brought it up to me and said that they're hesitant about getting filler because of that viral TikTok video. And I'm like, I get it. And I think that's why you do your research and why you look for someone who is conservative with this stuff and won't get carried away. And I think at the end of the day, the most important thing, and something that I think a lot of providers don't do, is you have to be the provider that will say no to people. You never want to take advantage of patients. And I feel like it's not the patient's responsibility to know when too much is too much. It's the provider's responsibility. So as long as you're going to someone who has an aesthetic result themselves that you kind of align with, and you trust them to be able to keep your head on straight, then you're in good hands. You don't have to worry about it.
Saying no is so important. And we say no all the time.
I tell my patients it's my favorite word.
Yeah, respectfully.
It's very important. I mean, and I think patients, you develop that trust with them when they want more and you say no. And when we convey to our patients that we are looking out for them and we want them to look as good as they can look, and we are on their team, and taking it slow is a good thing. That's the other beautiful thing about fillers is it can be layered. You can layer a product, and starting with a little bit, allowing swelling to subside, seeing where you may want more, seeing where you need other places that may need filler. Because sometimes when you can fill your cheeks, you may not need as much in your nasolabial folds, or sometimes when you do your chin, it can elongate and you may not need as much in your jaw. So doing a little bit at a time is a very good approach. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
I love the way you're talking about this specifically, and you say the word, need, because you're talking about when a patient comes in wanting to assess their aesthetic goals and they want to build a plan. You're like, in order to do this, you need this, and this may happen, then you'll need this. But I also love when we're in the rooms and you're doing a consultation and someone goes, what do I need? And your response is always like,
don't need anything.
Don't need anything. Exactly. So for anybody listening who doesn't know Dr. Farber and doesn't, understand where he's coming from in that retrospect, right? You don't need anything, and that's always how you move about.
Yeah, I think no one needs anything. This is cosmetic medicine. This is aesthetic medicine, and our job and our goals are to make you feel better about yourselves. So no one needs to do any of this, but if we have tools to be able to make people feel better about themselves, then we do it.
Yeah, look good, feel good. I love that. I love it.
But you don't need anything. If you feel like you look pretty and you feel like you're happy and you love what you see in the mirror, more power to you. Leave and don't get anything done. And because we are happy, we have achieved what we're set out to achieve.
Right.
If you like the way you look and you feel good about yourself.
I love that. That's so good. So Marissa, fun stuff. Do you have any cosmetic predictions for the next year and years to come? Like, where can you see the direction of aesthetics going, in your professional opinion?
The natural looking route is definitely, I see everyone on TikTok talking about it now, being like, oh, like everyone likes, the gentle approach, like I said.
I love that.
Yeah, everyone's obsessed with looking young.
Right. Well, I think it's...
that ain't a new thing, Marissa.
Yeah, I think it's kind of innate, too.
But it's crazy, like the lengths that people will go to.
Well, there was this woman who I read an article a while ago. I promise you, it said, I think she was like 75 years old. She had not smiled in 40 years. She took pictures and she did all of these things and did not smile for 40 years because she didn't want wrinkles.
That's so
what
sad.
a very sad existence.
Oh, no, smiling and laughing are top for me.
You love that.
Number one things I love doing, smiling and laughing.
If there was a third, what would it be?
Pizza? Does that count? I don't know. That's the first
Smiling, laughing, and pizza. Simone, ladies and gentlemen.
The first thing that came to mind. I think at that point I'm happy. That's heaven.
I love it.
Yeah, laughing while eating pizza.
Marissa, what do you think? Do you have any funny stories, or what was the funniest or most odd thing you can think of that happened with a patient?
I thought you were going to say that happened with Simone. I'm like, I have so many.
Okay, let's start there.
From today. No, just kidding.
With a patient, okay, this was not in the email.
Yeah, no, I can encourage you because I'm with Marissa all day.
They're a curveball.
So I'm side by side with her all the time, and I think the funniest thing that happens when she's with the patient, I don't know, is when you start crying, when they start crying.
Crying?
Like, she doesn't cry, but she'll tear. Like, she'll be so serious and in her zone, but like, you can't help it. Like, she can't help it. Her emotion just shows. One tear for the... And I'm
Single
like...
tear.
I'm like, you're dabbing your patient's tear, like if they just, as a reflex.
And Simone's dabbing my tear.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, this is weird, but...
This is what happens.
Okay, that never happens in my room.
No, not at all. I mean, never happened.
This is what happens. I either am so concentrated that I forget to blink, and then my eyes get dry and they start watering. Or whenever I'm injecting around the eye or like on the top lip, I feel their pain.
She's such an empath. It's so weird.
And it makes my eyes water whenever I do like any crow's feet over here,
but
Botox.
She's so locked in, so in the zone. So it's like so serious, and all of a sudden it's like, duh, and I'm like, oh no, it's happening again, like a flower sweating. So
she's very fragile.
Yeah. The patient's like, excuse me, it's about me.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with you?
Every patient apologized for the tears falling down their face, and I'm like, me too. I'm sorry.
Oh
yeah, so that's hilarious to me. Like, I chuckle, or how she plays like Taylor Swift all the time and like has a concert.
Well, that's interesting.
Hilarious.
So Marissa and I work in the office together, and typically we when I'm in surgery, she's doing a lot of her injections, and so we don't
rarely
cross
share days.
paths
Yeah.
very often. But when we do, it's like we have a whole music thing going on.
No, you have a lot of things going on, first of all.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Me,
Oh,
not
no.
us,
No.
me.
Are we gonna bring it up?
Oh, we're going to bring it up.
Oh, what?
This is such the tea.
We have beef, you
Beef.
and I.
Low key.
Wow.
So,
Okay. I
excuse
walked
me.
into this one, huh?
You
Yeah,
walked
did.
into this one,
Yeah, you
and
set yourself up.
we're filming, so you better be on your best behavior.
Let's hear.
Listen, I put the chair in room 2. Well, Simone did it for me on 2 different settings, number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
Because I sit the patient in 2 different ways when I'm doing lip filler.
And so when you set the setting, it's like one click of the button instead of like 5, so you could program
I'm
settings.
confused.
In the room.
Yes.
I program her settings. So I just step on the floor and I press the button and
What's the second one for?
she has 2 different settings. She's a
So I
little-
lay them flat for the first when I do the top lip.
Don't
and
give
then
out your
when-
secrets.
Yeah, that's true. And then I press that button on the floor, and I
Okay.
did it. What was it, yesterday?
Yeah.
I did it, and it wasn't my setting, and I thought I was broken. I'm like, it can't be the chair.
And then I'm in an awkward position because the other day when you did it, it wasn't going in your setting.
Well, okay, so
and I'm like, at this
we
point.
didn't tell me. Well, there were 4 settings you told me.
Right.
And none of them were my settings, Simone.
Fair.
So
Yes, but I
there are
heard-
4 settings.
I heard that you said you wanted the number 1
I don't
setting.
care what number. I don't care what number.
Sure.
I just was upset that I didn't
I
have
can
one
tell you
setting.
things, and then you go and tell them.
On not even tell me, but on
I'm a tattletale.
people. But it's not. I didn't say what. If I did it, I don't care. I don't care about the
You did.
one
Maybe I said
setting.
it.
But I needed a setting.
You were being a
I mean,
diva.
well, Simone,
No, I'm
it
just
took you
kidding.
37 minutes
I
to
know.
put the patient in like a
I was
position.
struggling. I was glitching.
It's like
so
patient like couldn't like find a position or
I'm-
like feet were in the air or like what's your thing?
That chair is the hardest part of my job, too.
Definitely not the hardest part of my job.
no, I know.
But I would like one setting out of the
Actually,
4.
I lied. My hardest part is doing this and dealing with you both. No. Well, I was just gonna say we put tunes on in the office.
Yes.
And you 2 have clearly different music tastes
Yes.
in the office. Very eclectic, but in the office you like what you like.
Well,
and so
to be honest, I think that it helps us concentrate. So,
Right.
at least for me, I can't speak for Marissa, but for my music selections in the operating room or in the office, it holds 2 purposes. One, it helps me concentrate. It helps me stay chill. It mellows me out. But also, I want my patients to be enjoying it and
That's
to
fair.
convey a certain vibe that we're trying to convey. In the operating room, they don't hear it, so
Right.
it's fine. But today, Marissa, same
Yeah.
thing, I think. I don't know, or she's just vibing it out.
she
and-
vibes. She's really chill. Like there's Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
She'll play her
But
tunes.
what
and
was
then
going on today?
there
It
was some
like we were
house
in, like, a dance
situation
party.
going on. There was like
We were
EDM.
at a rave today.
we were
I
at
don't
a
know what
rave.
happened.
And I zoned out to it. You couldn't even tell me there was music playing. Like I wouldn't even have noticed until my phone starts ringing. I'm like, hello. And Dr. Barber's like, what are we listening to? And I'm like, I actually have no idea. I wasn't even listening. And she's partying in the corner. Like there's a disco ball. No, I think you zoned out to it too, right?
I was like writing my notes and I was very concentrated. I'm like, this is actually really
So
good
concentrated.
concentration music. But I guess that
And it's like,
I
was
think
just
I'm an
us.
old man. I mean, what can we say? I mean, I don't mind house music. I actually like EDM. I like that kind of music. However, it can get a little repetitive. And I, especially when I'm working, kind of like words.
yeah.
That's why I don't listen to jazz. That's why I don't listen to any of that
That's
in the operating room,
interesting.
because for some reason, after a while, it gets a little monotonous to me
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't have words, if it's just constantly. And that today
Yeah.
was another whole different thing. That was like literally the same.
That was everything
3
but
notes
words. I needed you to say something.
and over
I was
again.
in a trance. So we
Well,
needed
that's
you
good.
to tap us out of that. Okay, so I like the idea of asking our guest a couple of specific questions at the end of the show.
Yes.
And if, I'm like determining it's the end of the show, but if you have anything else to
Oh.
say today,
I was having
now's
fun.
your chance. Okay. No more jokes, no more shots being fired.
No,
We're good?
we're
Okay. All right, the dust settled. So, Marissa, one thing people may not know about you.
I have trouble with this question because this is like, what's a fun fact about you? And
Yeah.
I'm a fun person, but I don't know if I necessarily have like a fun fact. I texted my friends and I said, what's a fun fact about me? And they told me all these facts that are not fun about me, like that I'm weak and
Well, I mean,
accident
that's
prone.
fun. That's very funny. I mean, that is a huge thing about you, Marissa. So when I was talking to Simone, I'm like, what are we going to say? I'm like, she have to mention something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you are very weak, Marissa.
Fragile.
I am weak.
Physically weak, but fragile is a cute word.
So I grew
like
up, my friend, like in elementary and middle school and high school, my friends would call me a delicate flower. And
no, I love that. That's cute.
And it really stuck. It really withstood the test of time, that's for sure. And as I've gotten older, I've just become more fragile. My bones break easily. I get sick all the time. I have to be put like in a little bubble, and the more you get to know me, the more you see that and just want to protect me because I'm so...
I mean, it's like 95 degrees out and she has a heated blanket.
Yeah, heated blanket, fleece.
Yeah.
A heater.
Yeah.
So don't show up to the office if you're sick, okay? Because then you'll hurt our PA. We don't like that.
That's so true.
Yeah. And I'm her bodyguard, so don't mess with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
basically
right.
is what she's saying.
That's right.
Okay, so I was going to say, like, what's a piece of advice you can share with everyone? Maybe specifically those who would be listening today, like people who aspire to be a PA or have a social media presence.
We sighed at the same time. So I think that the most important thing that I could tell someone who's listening right now is to trust the timing of your life, because a lot of things didn't work out the way that I once hoped they would. And now looking back, I know it might sound corny, but I really see them as the biggest blessings in disguise. All the setbacks that I've had, the literal like failures and exams, and I don't think that I would be here or be the person, like be physically here working with you, also just be the person that I am today if I didn't go through all of the things that I went through. Because also, if you work obviously hard for everything, but everything is handed to you, you don't really learn a lot about what resilience really is. But when things don't necessarily go your way, I feel like it turns you into a different type of person where you're like, I've been through this before, or I've been through something similar where, life is hard. And I feel like I've become a way better person because of the way that life has been hard for me. Because now life is great and you really get to enjoy the good parts of life because you've experienced the bad. So yeah.
I like that.
That's my spiel.
So when the going gets tough, don't give up.
Yeah, I mean, failure is part of the success at the end of the day.
Not if you fail, it's if you get back up.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can fail 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's what you do about it that matters. So, when
your TikTok was flopping when you first started, was that harsh?
Literally.
Well, when
no.
it was a flop, and you were like, wow, I'm only getting 200 views, and my best friends are the only ones commenting. You were like, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And now, I don't even know, you have 80,000 on TikTok followers. Your videos go viral all the time. Millions of views. I think that's insane. Like, thanks. I would give up. I know I wouldn't, but I would want to really bad.
I mean, there was a point in my life where I failed an exam, and it set me back for months. And I wanted to crawl under my bed because the shame that I felt and the embarrassment that I felt was unlike anything I've ever felt before when it comes to school. And I was like, well, there's nowhere else to go but up from here. So I might as well, get to it and prove everyone wrong. But really it was like prove myself wrong, because when you fail, you're like, man, they just put me in my place. Like, clearly I'm not good enough. And if you really believe you're not good enough, you're not going to get far in life. So proving to yourself that you are good enough, I think, is what sets you up for success at the end of the day.
Motivates you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that. I love that we value everybody who's listening and their time and everything, but also to value your time and your stories. And you get to stand on the stage and tell them, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Marissa.
Thanks for having me.
We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I love you guys. Oh, see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yeah, we'll
see
be
you
here.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Wait, before you go, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your peeps and follow us on social media at Beauty and the Boob Doc and at Farber Plastic Surgery. Okay, you're free to go now. Thanks again. Bye for now.